Conservatism is working with young men, even young black men. It's nothing but gains. Not saying that it's a win at this point, but it's been nothing but progress, inch by inch, and the ground has been lost with white women. The numbers are kind of startling. You'll look at the black vote as a whole, okay, and they'll say that actually the numbers aren't shifting that much. Well, that's true. It's not shifting as much as some Republicans are leading you to believe. Sure. But there is a demographic within the black community that is seeing a monumental shift. I don't think it could be referred to any other way, and that's young black men specifically. I think a case can be made as to why that is taking place, and we'll make it. But I also want you to pay attention to something that's pretty beautiful. You look at the racial divide politically with, for example, boomers, people, the baby boom generation, white men, black men, almost entirely Democrat, almost entirely Republican. Young black men, young, meaning Gen Z, white men, they're a lot closer together. Isn't that a great thing? It means that there must be something shared that isn't centered around melanin. But the media won't tell you about that. They'll tell you that this is racist because a bunch of white guys are talking about the black vote. Guess what? Don't care. Hey, are you white? I think you're entitled to an opinion. Also, as unpopular as it may be, you may have a penis and can still have an opinion on murder. I know. Comment below if you do. So Donald Trump is performing better with young black male voters. Here's the man on CNN, so you can believe, your lying eyes and ears. And this guy is confused by pretty much everything that takes place on air.
Sometimes there's a trend line. I look at the polls all the time, and sometimes there's a trend line that I never noticed before and make me go, whoa. This is all right. This is the Democratic margin among black men under the age of 45 in presidential elections. You go back to November of 2012. What do you see? You see Obama by 81. Clinton only won him by 63. Then we're all the way down to Biden last time around by 53. A tremendous drop already. And then you take a look at the average of the most recent polls, and Kamala Harris is up by only 41 points. That is about half the margin that Obama won them by back in November of 2012. This is part of a long-standing trend of young black men moving away from the Democratic Party, and Kamala Harris is just the latest to face that magnitude of younger black men going towards the Republicans.
He always seems so confused. I just like watching him. He's like, what?
Also confused by something that's obvious to the rest of us. He's like, how did we go from young black men voting for a young black man to not an old white lady to an old white man to an old Indian kind of black?
Why did black men vote in record numbers for Barack Obama, and then for the man who was referenced at least 14,000 times in the hip hop songs that they liked, or a half white, half Indian Canadian from Westbound? Your guess is as good as mine. I'm vexed.
It's weird that young black men voted for a young black man and then didn't vote for the other people who weren't young black men.
Yeah, and also the policies that you've promised them over the decades have never come to fruition. Donald Trump did more for the black community. We'll get to it later.
Well, the trends are pretty worrying, by the way, for the Harris campaign.
Yes.
And it's starting to show even with her own supporters.
Vice President Harris tonight continuing her push to shore up support among black men, a group the campaign is concerned may not turn out to vote in the numbers they have in the past. She met with black businessmen at a Detroit art gallery. The campaign still has real work to do, according to Pastor Charles Williams II. So how would you assess how the vice president's doing with 3 weeks to go?
I mean, look, everybody's worried. I'd be considered a supporter, and I'm worried in regards to what the polling is suggesting and around black men.
She definitely need to talk to black males. Mm-hmm. The hip-hop community needs to hear more from VP Harris about what is her plans and plans of action for black males. A lot of black males are not into the Harris campaign.
Yeah, so it's going pretty badly. So she's been soliciting endorsement from higher profile black celebrities like Steph Curry, Charlemagne, The God, THA, and the worst of all of them, completely straight Magic Johnson.
She's ready.
She's ready.
You like it. And,
he's still alive?
She can bring the country together. She's fighting for women so that they can have the right to choose.
To choose murder.
She's trying to bring the groceries down for families can afford groceries now. Some of the things that her agenda,
something else.
the plans she has for the country is
Want to
wonderful.
get AIDS?
And then last but not least,
watch his hands.
Foreign leaders want her to win because they know they can work with her.
Tell me you didn't see that when he goes, and last but not least, See his hands? Grab that.
Yeah,
Can you freeze it? You go,
they know they can work with her.
that's right. Last but not least, look. Y'all know I like me a titty. I like me a titty. I got AIDS.
Those are some-
Do you have any idea how statistically unlikely it is for a heterosexual male in North America to get AIDS? I do some f***ing, okay? Last but not least, you know the rest.
Oh, come on, that was a bad blood transfusion or something.
Exactly.
Got some sweat in the locker room.
He got stabbed by the same guy who hit Eazy-E. So
With his
she's pandering, and she's pandering because she's trying to bring back, the black vote that she's using, that she's losing, young black men. She has this opportunity agenda. It includes government subsidized businesses and these farm loans, programs to make more black men teachers, of course, legalizing marijuana, something to do with cryptocurrency. Here's NPR's headline endorsing her plan. In outreach to black men, Harris vows to legalize weed, protect crypto. I didn't realize that the ghost of Robert Byrd was the senior editor at NPR.
Yes.
Well, the next headline says that Kamala Harris proposes replacing daylight savings time with colored people time.
Yes.
Wow.
White people to set their clocks 20 minutes ahead of every hour.
Yes, exactly. That's their headline. My point is, you should be just as mad with them.
We didn't say it.
And by the way, I don't know if you know this. In order to step in and help her,
it's extremely racist. Sorry.
It is unbelievably racist.
It's an outreach to black men. She vows to legalize weed, huh? You like smoking weed, right?
Do any of
Joints
you
for everyone.
listen to NPR?
Watch out for my white security.
Any of you listen? I listen to NPR every morning. It's one thing to hear people bitch about white Americans being out of touch with black culture, but NPR is ridiculous. I can only imagine them sitting there like, we need to do something about the black. We need to do something about the black vote. Yes, that's correct. Yes. Do you suppose that they like modern jazz? How about drugs and cryptocurrency? Oh, I like that.
I just saw this movie Friday.
Yes.
It's about the Weeknd star.
Now, are you referring to After Next?
His friend Smokey.
Or is it the Friday before?
A pharmacist.
It was After Next.
They're all Fridays.
They're all Fridays.
I love Debo.
Every Friday they smoke the marijuana.
Yes, they do. They do smoke the marijuana.
And that Dave Chappelle, quite a comedian.
He is quite a comedian, of course.
Half Baked was great.
Yes, yeah. And he says some things that, of course, we don't approve of everything, but we do celebrate his beautiful black history here at NPR. Up next, the whitest guy you know with the traffic update.
I've read
Cars are backed up.
Hey!
Y'all got to get out
The
of here.
truck over here! Ain't nobody in the truck!
Honk, honk.
Back to you, Dave Mattingly. Thank you. I'm Dave Mattingly. I hear him every morning. I listen to it because I want to know what the left is saying.
That's a real person?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He played it. He said he used to sound completely straight, and now on the NPR thing, he's like, "Hi, for NPR, I'm Dave Mattingly."
They're like, we're going to replace you with a woman. And he's like, what if I'm gay?
He's a homo.
I guess we have to keep it now. I mean,
His voice is just a caricature of a drag queen.
His voice is the Charlie in the box from Rudolph. I'm Dave Mattingly. No one wants to play with a Dave Mattingly in the box. You're right. They don't. So, not to be outdone by Tim Walz losing the vote of probably mostly everybody though. Barack Obama decided to step in and help her because there's nothing that young black men resonate with more than a good scolding from an absent father figure.
Part of it makes me think that, well, you just aren't feeling the idea of having a woman as president. And you're coming up with other alternatives and other reasons.
That's not it.
So now you're thinking about sitting out or even supporting somebody who has a history of denigrating you because you think that's a sign of strength, because that's what being a man is, putting women down. That's not acceptable.
Oh, it's not acceptable. So Barack Obama wants black men to vote for Kamala regardless if she's a woman, or I don't know. Is it for any other reason than they can't vote for Trump? I don't understand. What? What do you want, Mel? I don't understand why you're here. We don't want to hear. No, we don't. Get out of here, Mel.
No.
That's not. We don't just. He's a drama queen.
Every time.
I never know which shoulder he's coming in.
I didn't expect him today.
No.
Well,
Out of nowhere.
There's nothing overtly anti-Semitic.
Racist stuff.
Not today, anyway.
But let's get into Donald Trump, the best black president, because Kamala's not. Let me ask you: if you're a young black man, what is it that she's offering you right now? What is it that she's actually offering? And I don't mean what is she offering you as far as a handout like reparations. I think Thomas Sowell, I could be misquoting him. He said reparations is basically me being forced to give someone money because someone down the line who looked vaguely like me did something wrong to somebody who may look vaguely like somebody else. And it is the most racist policy I can think of, especially if you're to base reparations on race and not on ancestry.
Yeah, definitely.
That's the problem with it.
Yeah, you got to have some concrete history. Your family has. I mean, I guess regardless, but you got to start somewhere, right?
Even then, no. I'm
Concrete
sorry.
ties.
No, I say no, period.
I say no, period, but at least some ties to some kind of slave owner. Or,
yeah.
What if your family just German migrants that came from Pennsylvania that were broke?
Yeah. What if your family, by the way, are descendants of Jewish slaves and you're in a state that never had slaves in the United States? What if you're from one of the black families who did own slaves?
What if you're an Irish family that did own slaves?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Kamala, Donald J. Harris looking in your direction.
What if you're a black family that owns slaves? Did you already say that?
I did.
I didn't hear that.
The point is, a lot of people had slaves, and for them, it was a good time. Now,
for them.
Another reason that Kamala is struggling with black men is not just because of her lack of policy or proposals and her unlikability. On the flip side, Donald Trump's likability and popularity with some folks.
Pastor Mark Burns. Mark, where are you? Where's Mark Burns? He's a great guy. Good. These lights are so bright in my eyes that I can't see too many people out there. But I can only see the black ones. I can't see any white ones, you see? That's how far I've come. That's how far I've come. That's a long way, isn't it? We've all seen the mugshot. And you know who embraced it more than anybody else? The black population. It's incredible. You see black people walking around with my mugshot. You know, they do shirts and they sell them for $19 a piece.
It's true. And by the way, it's 2 for 1 if you just have a birth and death date and a blank where you can fill it in yourself with magic marker.
Yeah, airbrush on it. I like how he was laughing at the price. Like he was like, $19. I would have sold it for $40.
Yes. They got my mugs. Can you believe it? They like mug shots. Apparently.
Blend.
Yep. Hey, I don't know if you know this. We called that and said, yeah, what you're gonna get black people to hate Donald Trump by providing them with one of the most badass mugshots that's ever existed and tell them that this guy's being persecuted by an unfair justice system. Good luck. Guarantee you could line up, pick 100 black men. After Donald Trump was shot and he got up and shook his fist and said, fight, 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 there was not one single black person who you would have interviewed who would have said that's irresponsible. They would have said, gotta give it to him. That's pretty badass.
Yeah.
Guarantee you, that's the disconnect.
Even if they hate him.
Even if they hate him.
Like, all right.
Even if they hate him, they would respect him. Let's go to how Donald Trump has been the best black president. Let's go to the economy. And all references are available every day. Link in the description. Black unemployment hit a record low for the first time under Donald Trump at 5.3%. The black poverty rate hit a record low under Donald Trump, 18.8%. And by the way, these trends did continue after Donald Trump. He set a precedent and he put policy in place that isn't that the best job a president can do, where his legacy outlives his presidency?
Yeah.
It's a great thing. Hey, I have no problem saying that. By the way, the unemployment actually, it hit its peak under Barack Obama, then Donald Trump, record low, and Joe Biden has thankfully been able to continue that trend, by and large, keeping a lot of the same policies. Let's look at what those were. Donald Trump created 9,000 opportunity zones. He created a fund to deploy $1 billion to minority-owned businesses. And he got Hennessy added to the approved EBT list.
Oh, that's impressive.
So it was a snub to the Colt 45 drinkers, but you know what?
It really was.
Baby steps.
You know, like, you've got to pick your battles.
Baby steps. Sorry, Afro Man. Education. let's look at education, because people often just say this, and I get it. Okay, I'm a white guy, I'm not allowed to have an opinion. But you know what? I guess these stats are. Donald Trump supported school choice. Remember that idea, the programs that we were told were racist, that would disproportionately harm young black Americans? Turns out that was also fear-mongering. Donald Trump's 2020 budget, it was $600 million an increase in school choice funding. Charter, magnet schools, student-centered grants that existed, specifically that were being designed and that were made available for young black students. He made funding to historically black colleges and the universities, we call these HBCUs. He made that funding permanent. Yeah. And he named Mr. Cooper as his HBCU liaison, which was fun and was,
I remember Mr. Cooper.
Yeah, he was hanging with him. It was a good time. Let's move on, though, to the best black president ever. Criminal justice. What did Donald Trump do, President Trump, for criminal justice, which, by the way, kind of a big issue.
A little bit.
With the black community, and in many cases, rightfully so. He signed the First Step Act into law. What did that do? It reduced sentences for thousands of federal inmates. Most of them, by the way, were drug offenders, to be clear. Now, I want to be clear about, there's a big myth going on that like our prisons are completely overpopulated by people who are just being arrested for a baggie of weed. That doesn't happen that often. But there are people who are not career criminals who are in there for largely drug-related charges, who are not hardened violent criminals, right? I don't think that we should have catch and release. But the good news is this actually worked. The recidivism rate of those released under the First Step Act was 12.4%. The federal prisoner national average is 43%.
Wow.
So while Kamala Harris talks about she's going to do it, she didn't do it when she had the opportunity to. Donald Trump did it, and he's the first president to actually do it. I know he didn't legalize weed across the board, and so you may not vote for him, white guilty liberals. But as far as actually helping people who are mostly non-serial violent offenders, mostly drug offenders, got thousands of them out. 12.4% recidivism. And you know what? That's a legacy that outlasts him. Isn't that great? Some notable pardons that are also hilarious. Lil Wayne, Kodak Black, A$AP Rocky. He helped free from Sweden. That's an actual story.
That was him, Kanye West, and Kim Kardashian.
So maybe,
the country came together.
So maybe the reason that the mugshot is resonating with black Americans is because they're going, yeah, you know what? I lived it. Record low unemployment. My community is a little better off. Yeah, you know what? Actually, we have more opportunities for college, more black-owned businesses. You know what? My uncle got out of prison who was railroaded by the justice system. Hey, you know who else has been railroaded? That guy with the mugshot. Maybe that's why Kamala Harris has nothing to offer. Not to mention that she's half Indian, half Irish, and spent her childhood in Westmount, Montreal.
They got underground railroaded.
Yes. Oh, you got Harriet Tubman, man.
Come on, man.
You got right Tubman.
He just, it's so funny because I really want to see how the vote actually goes in the black community. I know the polling right now looks really good. But
it doesn't look really good.
No, it looks
with
really
young
good
black
compared.
men. It looks good.
Yes,
the black vote at large.
Overall, it's still better than he did in 20.
It's still better, but it's not as.
Better.
I don't want people to think it's going to be anywhere close to a majority.
15. It's like 15 right now, right? So he's with men. I think it's 20-ish. With women, I think.
And with young men, it's more than 20.
Yeah, just overall black men 20, black women 12. I think so. It comes out to around 15. They say in the averages. I hope the poll ends up being what happens on election day, maybe even more, because I really feel bad. There's no group in this country, I can't think of at least, that has been told for decades, hey, we're going to represent you. We're going to represent you. We're going to take care of you. And has nothing, in my opinion, to show for it from them other than the economic progress of the system helping them get better and better and better results economically over time. And then Donald Trump comes in, actually does implement policies that help this community significantly, his historic lows in black unemployment and other stats that we quoted, and gets people out of jail, puts this First Step Act in place.
Yeah.
I hope that they see, I've been lied to by a party for my entire life.
Right.
And they have not done anything to not just help me. It can't be just a selfish motive. It's got to be about ending the cycle of poverty. I can't just go, I need just a little bit more. A little bit more is not going to make it end.
Right.
You need something that ends the cycle. Education is that. Personal responsibility is that. Making sure that you're not incarcerated for drugs is that. Those kinds of things really make a difference.
And this is the first time that they've seen real change.
Yes.
Like you said, for decades and decades, they've been lied to by the left, and they've seen little to no results
Even under
in a lot of
Obama.
things. But now they go now they're still being preached to and told to by, like you said, absentee father. Which, by the way, nobody likes that. Black Mug Club members comment. You like being talked down to and told what to do by somebody, how to be black. I'm sure you don't. But then one guy comes in and finally, even though they think he hates you, your life is better. You're like, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Life is actually better now. I can visibly see it. I can physically feel it. My bank account feels it. My house feels it. My family feels it.
Also, by the way, let's be really clear. Kamala Harris bringing up answering the way she did, kind of, on reparations. There is, beyond the fact that the idea of any type of policy, which she won't do, is terrible, that negativity, that narrative, continuing to keep that racism alive is very harmful, because Barack Obama was supposed to be the great uniter. He, in fact, was the opposite.
Yeah.
Ironically, Donald Trump has united young black men and young white men, where they share far more in common than the generations before them. Not saying they're overwhelmingly conservative, but you have a lot more of them. They're meeting in the middle a little bit, meaning they're sharing something in common. That gap is being bridged. Now we're seeing the opposite happen with young women, both black and white women. Let's be really clear about this. If not for white women as a voting bloc, no Democrats get elected in this country. There aren't enough of any other blocks, whether it's black women, whether it's Hispanic women. It's white women, and they are going more and more left, which to me is very interesting. And let me present to you why I think that is. Young men are more conservative at this point in their lives than previous generations. Okay, specifically Gen Z more so than millennials. Think that's because they've been raised with it. They've been raised with the left. Everything was left. When George Bush was president, it was a witch hunt. It was albums, Rock Against Bush. It was Green Day. It was every single celebrity. It was Code Pink, right? And I think now young men have seen the alternative. They've seen the alternative, and they're actually choosing the alternative. They've been offered a viable alternative. And I think we've done some work here, but I think a lot of people out there have done work. You look at the culture on YouTube and on social media. There were no conservatives on YouTube when I started in 2008. There were none. They didn't exist. There was me and a guy named Alfonso Rachel. That was it. A black guy.
AM radio. That's basically what you had for conservatives.
That was what it was. And so young men have looked and said, okay, I know what the left is offering me because I hear it from all of my professors. Everything I watch, I listen to coming out of Hollywood. And now I'm hearing an alternative, and you know what? I'm choosing that, which means there has at least been somewhat of an effective job done by those championing the cause. Tells me that with young women, it means that there's something conservative women, the conservative female leadership, they're not presenting an alternative or a platform that seems viable, because young women and women as a whole are actually leaning more left, even older women leaning more left, which means they're looking at the representatives, they're looking at whatever content is out there, and they're going, yep, I don't like this. I have theories as to why that's the case. We may do a segment on it. I would imagine that a big part of it is young men feel browbeaten. They feel as though they've been demoralized enough, as though they've been villainized enough, and they're going, you know what? What I want is opportunity. What I want is the ability to do what all men before me have done, provide for my family, protect my family, and I don't want to be demonized for it. I think young women would probably, at the very least, gravitate towards conservatism if they understood, hey, you've been sold a lie that you can have it all, that you can chase the career, that you can chase the salary, you can chase this life, and then, of course, in your late 30s, decide that you want to have the family life too. You can't. There are sacrifices that need to be made. The problem is they're not seeing a viable alternative presented by conservative women, largely because the conservative women who are championing that cause are out working full-time. And I also think because if they believe in strong family units, with divorce, 80% of divorces, particularly divorces that take place with younger people in this country, are filed by women. And so they're pointing going, oh yeah, hypocrite. There's something that is not working.
I think one gender is willing to compromise more than the other as well.
Yeah, maybe.
There's little compromise where it's like, especially I see it in conservative media with these conservative women that are like, Trump this, Trump that, but his view on abortion, I hate him. I'll never vote. It's like, well, you gotta compromise somewhere.
Yeah,
and it's not just the abortion issue. It's so many issues where it's like you're uncompromisable, left or right.
Yeah.
It's this, and I don't want to oversimplify this, so please hear this in the spirit that I mean it. Like, it's this whole campaign strategy from Kamala Harris is about feeling. It's about joy. It's about turning the page, is feeling positive
but
about it.
That's always been the case, though, with the left.
It has been with the left, but more like
white women didn't overwhelmingly go for Obama. They're leaning more and more left.
No, they have.
There's some kind of a shift.
Your point. I know the shift is still happening, but I'm saying that this maybe her campaign is trying to tap more into that shift. Because that resonates, I think, more with women than it does with men, for sure, right? Men are like, okay, well, yeah, but give me, vibes, yeah, okay, beta males, fine, they're going to go with that. But at the end of the day, we're going to be like, okay, well, what are the policies? And so are a lot of strong conservative women. Okay, well, what are the policies?
Yeah.
And when you start to see the policies that she puts out, she does it in kind of this vague kind of way, like I believe in an opportunity economy. That sounds great, but there's nothing behind it.
I think there's a greater disconnect between conservative representatives, ambassadors, hosts, conservative females, and the American populace at large, as far as women, than there is with us. In other words, if you look at our views, even though we're pretty damn conservative, we can relate to someone like a Joe Rogan. We can relate to someone like a Tim Pool, to Dave Rubin, to whoever. It doesn't mean we have everything in common. And I think we can relate to more American males out there, despite being unabashedly conservative, than a lot of conservative media representatives on the female side. It just seems less relatable. Statistically, it's not working. There aren't the same inroads being made with women that there are with men. Conservatism is working with young men, even young black men. It's nothing but gains. Not saying that it's a win at this point, but it's been nothing but progress, inch by inch, and the ground has been lost with white women. We need to figure out why that is. And I think a big reason that it can't be figured out is because men are told they're not allowed to have an opinion, including from conservative women on these issues. You don't know. There's nothing we like more than a white guy okay, do it your way. Continue losing. But that's a reality right now. And I know that we have a lot of women who are watching, and it's true. Why do you think there's that disconnect? Why do you think it's not working? We'll probably do a deep dive in a segment on it because I'm sure some sub-statistics would probably provide some illumination. Hey, if you're still watching, you can click my face or this box next to me, which may bring you to another video, or it's going to bring you to another video. It'll play another video. But if you like this, it'll be one that you like. And if you didn't like this, everyone deserves a second chance.